Welcome back. This is the 8th episode, if I'm not wrong. Is it the 8th episode?
8th episode.
It's the 8th episode of Suryacast. It's summer, so we decided to not actually eat too much. Appetite also runs low, and we're also trying to cut down because we have to lose weight. Why do we have to lose weight? Because, we just have to. Anyways.
The new listeners don't know how we started, so...
Yeah, so just letting you guys know that we start off with actually eating food, right, on the podcast. Check out our previous episodes where we start with food. Today, the only thing that we're eating is dark chocolate because honestly, I didn't make anything. That's the real reason. Second reason also is honestly because I was lazy to make anything. Third is that I rationalized this laziness by saying ki it's summer, so we will not be eating a little too much and we should be being specific about our calorie intake, right? Anyways, dark chocolate it is. 55% dark. It's not that super dark also. Anyways, we eat. You like that?
Pretty good.
Amul.
Indian, made in
I
India.
like dark chocolate.
Made in India. Yeah.
It's got the perfect balance of being like
It's not too dark, right?
55%. So it's got a bitterness. It's also got a sweetness. Maybe 75% dark would be nice. Do you like dark chocolate?
The question I have, girls who like dark chocolate or chocolate, are they open to dating black guys?
Huh?
And
I
do they
think-
fantasize about them?
Do you...
Compare chocolate to... they look at a black guy randomly and say, oh, could he be chocolate down there?
No, then that kind of... The other argument is not many people like white chocolate. So do you mean that no one likes white as much?
I don't know, man. I like white chocolate.
Yeah, but
Compare
the
them to-
comparison...
Does that mean you like white men?
No, I like white jugs.
You like white... But that's not like... Okay, fine.
Okay.
Interesting observation that we've basically made here. Anyways, the topic is not about white jugs and dark chocolate. It's essentially about books. We'll be talking about books and seeing how we can, discuss what kind of books we've been studying and what we've been learning from those books. Let me start off with, let's say, Pranshu. Right?
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah. What books have you been reading?
No, before that, what is that book that looks like a dictionary? I want to
Okay,
talk
so
about that.
this book in particular is a really old book. As you can see, the pages are old. If you guys remember Vidyaranya's library. Oh, handle
It's going to fall
Oh
down.
my god, okay, this is about to fall apart.
Yeah.
But why did you get this book?
So, this is word power. I just want to... So, here's the thing.
I remember
I have
what
to
power.
take you through my daily routine so you guys can understand what I'm reading, why I'm reading. So before I just say that, I'm a very I'm not a very, but I just started reading very recently. It's been 1 year.
You're a very recent reader.
Yes. Sadhurano. But yeah, so I wake up, and brush my teeth and I sit down to take a shit. I start with Robert Greene, 49 Laws of Power. And so I read one power each day. And then I read the communication book for better communication.
44 Ideas for
Yeah.
Better Communication by okay, I can't pronounce these names,
Yeah.
but Mikhail Krogeris and Roman Chapela.
Yeah.
Thepla, I don't know.
So it's
Sounds
like a
some sort of
short
thepla.
tidbit on how to, communicate better to people.
But why did you get like a word power made easy? Why is it dictionary, bro? Like,
Yeah,
what
it's
are
a
you
dictionary.
reading?
I don't know many words, so I want to
you're trying
improve
to-
my
okay.
word
Vocabulary.
game on this podcast.
So are you doing this for how long? This is for 1 year?
No, reading is for 1 year. I've been through a lot of books, and this is like the books I'm reading right now.
Okay, so you started reading like post-COVID or during COVID is when you started reading?
Actually, during COVID, yeah. Come to think about it, I read one.
It's funny how I want to interject here. It's like you say 1 year, but actually it's COVID. Because we feel like COVID just happened, like even we're still not over it. But
4
like,
years.
it's like the time span, subjective time span that I'm talking about. Anyways, Okay, so you were saying something about, you started reading during COVID. What were you reading during COVID?
Okay, so I went into this deep conspiracy saying that the Americans caused the Chinese to create COVID. And so I read one guy's book which says China is the whatever. He's an ex. This guy, what are those guys called who fly planes in the.
Kamikaze?
No, fly planes in the military. What are those guys called? Air Force.
Air Force.
Yeah, Air Force guys.
Okay.
So yeah, I read one of that book, and that was the only book I guess I read. Another one, it was just reading up on a whole lot of conspiracy theories.
Okay, so you read conspiracy theories and all kinds of crazy stuff, I guess, during COVID.
Yeah,
Right.
because I wanted to be involved in something.
You,
I wanted to be a part of something. The
isn't that why we read books
band
also?
of conspirators.
Because we want to be a part of something.
Now coming back to, you said you started whatever during COVID. If you remember, in school we had a library class, like a 40 minutes
Yeah.
library period.
Hmm.
What did you do then? And do you remember
I
what
was
you were
out
doing
there.
then?
I was out in the ground. I was out in the ground. Half the time I was like thrown out of the class. So yeah.
I don't remember you being thrown out of the library class.
I don't
You
think many
would be
people
thrown
were
out?
thrown out.
Dude,
of
if
library
I was
class.
not thrown out, I would say I need to take a piss and I'll be in the mud, back in the mud or in the football field. I got caught like a couple of times on the football field by some other teacher. They're asking me, "What are you doing alone on the field?" I said, "I'm playing football." "Whose class is this?" Said, "I got thrown out," and then they take me to the class and just verify if I was thrown out or not.
And then you'd be like, verified, now let me go back and play
No.
football.
It was actually there were instances where I was actually thrown out, but then I'd take a slip. I'm supposed to be right outside the class,
Huh.
but I'm not. So I'm actually like
See, that's
gone,
the thing, right?
disappeared.
They throw you out of the class. And the moment they throw you out of the class, they want you to kind of like be... Actually, they want you to be miserable.
Yeah, miserable, sulk,
Yeah,
and
sulk and
be
all.
in
Then they'll like
complete
it.
grief.
But if they throw you out of the class and you're like, okay, I'm out of the class and I'm going and playing
Yeah.
football, they're like, oh my god, this guy's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
I cannot stand that. This is the problem with, authority, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, you were also reading the Daily Stoic.
Yeah, the Daily Stoic, a bunch of the Roman guys giving a lot of in detail knowledge about how do you control yourself. Like the answers are inside you and not outside. Whatever's in your control is in your control. Whatever's not, just let go.
Okay, Daily Stoic is by Ryan what? Holiday.
Yep,
You can
Ryan
show
Holiday.
the thing to the screen, book to the screen.
Ryan Holiday.
Ryan Holiday. He has also a podcast that I listen to. It's also called Daily Stoic. So he gives tidbits of all the Stoic guys talking about some.
Is it about controlling emotion?
Yeah, a lot of that is like basically how to be a stone of a person. So that is that.
Being a
Modern
rock.
philosophy essentially stops with Stoicism for some reason. Anyways, I'll talk about that later. But you want to ask some question to him? You wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I was just looking at the choice of books. Is it like, because I guess is it because your reading is more recent? Is that why most of it is non-fiction?
Yeah.
More of self-help.
Yeah, self-help,
and-
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to help myself.
Yeah, I think that because of its recent, because more avid readers who would have started from childhood, they would have more range of books they would like to read, like maybe a story, fantasy or something like that. And then you also have self-help book. You have more range. I think that kind of shows when you picked up the habit of reading. Maybe that's just an observation.
Not much into fiction.
Yeah.
I think here is what happens with a lot of avid readers is that they tend to be very dismissive of self-help books.
Yeah.
And they tend to be very dismissive of self-help books, perhaps not because of self-help as a concept, but maybe because self-help as a market, is something that is very lucrative for anybody to write a self-help book. If you
The
write
father of that was Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie.
How to become
Win friend.
win friends.
How do you make
influence
friends?
people? How to make
how
friends
do
and
you
influence
people
people?
to make friends? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Those
a
kind
very
of things,
cheesy
yeah.
title, I guess. So, where my line of thinking was coming from, I'm not being dismissive of anything here. I'm only trying to perhaps formulate my own thoughts, which is that if you read the classics, let's say, what's that story, man? okay, of I'm blanking on that story. It was essentially it was a beautiful story, okay, by Miguel Cervantes. Okay, what's the name of that film?
Which one?
What's not film? Okay, what's the name of that? Okay, it's a Spanish book. It's a classic. How am I forgetting this? Okay, it's about a guy who's extremely foolhardy. Okay, and he's audacious, and he keeps going and like saying that he's going to fight demons and he's going to fight people and all. Right, so that's the story that it's essentially about. There is in some sense a lot of self-help there itself, okay, in understanding our emotions and how we kind of get to terms in life, right? But it's not a self-help book or marketed as a self-help book, right?
Oh.
But a self-help book that is marketed as a self-help book actually turns out to be a very poor quality self-help book if you think of it. I'm blanking on
When
the
you
book.
actually, I think the best, what I like about learning from books is
Go on.
when you actually learn it from the book, like the story itself, or you don't need someone to explain. Like for example, if I take this Seeing, which I'm just reading, it's by Jose Saramago, who's a famous Portuguese author, born in poverty, right? So how he basically doesn't like a certain things in society. He's seen a lot of things that he doesn't like, and he explains it in stories, which you wouldn't expect it to be, but you kind of learn from it. You think what the society is going to come to and stuff like that. For example, let's read this small thing, right? It says, despite the heavy rain, the officer at polling station 14 finds it odd that by midday on national election day, only a handful of voters have turned out. Puzzlement swiftly escalates to shock when final count reveals 70% of the votes are blank. National law decrees the election should be repeated, but the result is even worse. The authorities, seized with panic, decamp from the capital and declare a state of emergency. When apathy and disillusionment renders an entire democratic system useless, what happens next? So these kind of things, right? You learn what happens to society, learn about stuff. You don't need a self-help. You just learn from reading that. What happens next, right?
It's taking you through a course of events in a story.
It's by Jose Saramago, Seeing.
Blindness.
Blindness, yeah, same of blindness, which is another very good book on if everyone in the world gets blind. Basically, it's like COVID, but everyone gets blind.
So this is called Seeing, right? Where people just stop voting essentially.
Voting, yeah.
Oh,
Quite a democratic nation.
Quite timely because we are just elections are around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Saramago also, The Enemy was also by Saramago, which
Correct,
Villeneuve made.
Yeah.
I really like that. I really like that one. So I was actually talking about Don Quixote, so Spanish
Don
epic
Quixote,
novel
yeah,
by
yeah.
Miguel de Cervantes,
Which is
So there
actually
is
written in this book
The Savage Detectives.
about Don Quixote.
You've read Savage Detectives?
A bit, not
Not completely.
not completely, but
it's not
yeah.
a super easy read.
Yeah, it's very hard to finish it. It takes a long time to read.
It took me almost 6 months to kind of like read this book. But yeah, so what happens in that Don Quixote is that Don Quixote, is that how you call it?
Yeah, Don Quixote.
Don Quixote is that he's a very foolhardy, audacious kind of a person who says, I will chase demons and I will be like, a knight, right? And then he keeps doing that and people are like, dude, just chill, like what is wrong with you? You seem to be delusional. So it kind of is a self-help for us because it allows us to understand that as we age, we get less, I would say, worked up about something, right?
Yeah.
Is that I really have to do this. We understand that the attachments that we have are probably not, it's not doing anything to us in some sense, right? So in that sense, it's actually a very it's a better self-help book as far as I'm concerned, okay, than a book that is marketed as a self-help book. And the other problem with, I think, self-help is that, especially Stoicism, and now I've again not completely read it, but I may be wrong here, is that Stoicism tries to make you feel good somehow. Sometimes it's not about feeling good, it's about just knowing how things are.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what exactly it
Or
is,
maybe I'm
yeah.
misrepresenting Stoicism here. Please let me know if that is my understanding
As
of it.
grey as they are, like ignorant, that this is how it's gonna be, this is how life is gonna be. Warm up to it, or just don't expect much.
Don't expect much. Okay, interesting. I don't know, from a how do you put it? What I'm trying to say is that I don't, from a knee-jerk reaction, I don't like it.
Not something for you, basically.
Not something for me. But then I probably warm up to it later. I'll do the reading. But that's what seems to happen always, right? You have like some knee-jerk reaction, and then people end up coming up with a lot of reasons for why their knee-jerk reaction is correct. So a philosopher called David Hume once put it as reason is the handmaid of emotion. So you have an emotional response to something, and once you have an emotional response to something, that you rationalize a lot, right? On what it is that you essentially have just nothing but an emotional attachment to, and say that this is justified and this is correct and this is the right way to be, right? Now I can go into some explanations, but let's just move on and let me ask you, what books are you reading? You spoke about Seeing.
Yeah.
What are the books? The Midnight Library.
Yeah. So for me personally, I was just, because you said how you started reading books. Me personally, my parents both are avid readers, so we had a big collection in my house when I was young. And then during the library period in Vidyaranya, I actually used to take books and read and stuff like that. Very few, by the way, very few people actually read in the library in that school. So I was actually reading.
Those books were like untouched.
Yeah. So I loved reading, and so because of that, I covered a lot of genres. I think this would be more fantastical. I think that's what you call them. More like a fiction, but fantastical type of a
Is
thing.
it magical realism?
No, it's not. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is more magical realism, I guess. My Midnight Library. This is again a kind of self-help book where this lady gets depressed and she wants to die, and she dies, and then she goes into a library basically where where she kind of lives out different lives to understand that what she had was the perfect life.
Hold on a second. So you mean to say that she died and then she went to the library?
This is basically like the book. It's not real. Like it's
Okay,
just in her mind.
Okay.
And then what happens is she learns that what she had originally is the best life that she could have had. Like she is like, I have that regret. I could have gone and I wouldn't have broke up with that guy. I would have started a bar with that guy. I would have done something else in a job. I could have taken a different job. I could have become a painter. So she lives different lives, which is each a book in the library. And then she understands where that original life that she was living was the best life she could have ever had. And then she wakes up, and then that's like a self-help book on its own. But how it's written is really beautiful. And I think it won a lot of awards, this one, The Midnight Library.
Matt Haig, the #1 best-selling author of The Midnight Library.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really famous.
One Library, Infinite Lives. That's the book, guys. One Library, Infinite Lives. Between life and death, there is a library, she said. And within that library, the shelves go on forever. So it's one of those things where this could have happened in my life, that could have happened in my life, but then just live your life. It's probably the best thing that may have just happened to you. Norwegian Wood.
Yeah, and this one is something I started recently during COVID. Was the Japanese, mostly Murakami.
Yeah, I have Norwegian Wood too. That's nice.
Yeah,
I've been reading. Did I give this to you? No.
No.
Okay, I'm hallucinating.
So I started reading Murakami for a bit, and it's very easy to read. That's the first thing I think you get from Murakami. It's very easy to read, very daily life thing, but this one is very depressing. Not one to read if you are really in a bad mood and you're really feeling down. This one is not for you to read. It's about a student who goes into different depression, love, breakup, and everything else, and how the woman he loves dies and all that. Lot of stuff, lot of sad stuff.
Thanks for spoiling it.
Yeah, a lot of sad stuff basically.
You didn't finish the book.
Yeah, so a lot of sad stuff. But definitely, you learn about Japan, you learn about the lives, you learn about...
He's a student there, right? I know that he's a student there, and he's like, my friend also read the book and he gave it to me and said, please read it. So I am trying to get used to it.
It talks about society as a whole, like how people treat, how different type of, people, and how the different personalities mesh. It's about a lot of things, but it's very sad, basically. If you go by the story itself, it's very sad. And Murakami himself has a lot of different genres. Like he has poems, even has a manga, which I had, and so he covers a lot of stuff. He's a great writer, and become really popular in last 5-6 years. Internationally, he's become really popular. And this is named after the Beatles song.
Yes. Norwegian Wood. He's an avid Beatles listener.
Yeah.
Because I know a little bit around the book. Okay, because So this book is kind of like, to a lot of, I guess, men out there. This is what I've heard. Again, I've not read the book. This is what I heard from it. Is that 20-year-olds essentially, or young men, kind of like identify with that male character essentially. And it's about his relationships and his and it's also about like there's some crazy shit, because I read a little bit here and there about the book, and it's about a girl who's there's some crazy shit with regards to the the woman's character that's kind of like happening with her grandfather or father or something.
There's a lot of stuff that happens.
Essentially, it's messed up.
I think you could kind of get if you've seen Ye Dil Hai Mushkil, you get the same vibes like in that movie as well. Maybe he's taken some kind of where the girl and the guy meet up, and the girl kind of is not really into the guy, but she's like carefree, and then this guy's still stuck with her, like in her mind, in his mind it's always her, and he's obsessed with her and stuff like that. If you've seen it, same vibes you get kind of. So one part of the story at least.
Is it melancholic?
Yeah, I guess
one?
so.
You could say some sort of a melancholic.
Yeah.
But is it kind of like, I don't know, I'm getting these two words. It is kind of like a stoic melancholy. So it's kind of melancholic, but it's not like sentimental and over.
Yeah, it's not sentimental at all. No.
Right, but it's melancholic and kind of like more understated melancholic.
Correct.
Heavy melancholic with an understated vibe to it.
Correct.
This is what I seem to be getting from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to say something?
No, dude.
Don't want to say anything?
Nope.
Tell me something about 48 laws of power. Tell me one law of power.
You always let your mentor. You don't outshine your mentor. So that's the first law. You don't outshine your mentor. So in the sense, you like if you want like in a corporate environment, you're doing as best as you can. You're doing so well that you might outshine him.
He's going to have
reasons being for human egos, it's not going to sit well with the mentor, and then
that is there. But then the other thing that I heard as a pushback to what you're saying is that if somebody is a mentor, the mentor, a true mentor in the sense, I mean, maybe for 99% of the people, actually that 48 laws of power is the right one, right?
Yeah.
But there are some mentors out there who want their students to outshine them, because
of course,
what's the point
I think they would tell you, they give you guidelines, but it's up to you how you interpret it, how you use it. Is also I guess it's upon you. Like you don't outshine your mentor, but then if you don't outshine your mentor, then what was the point of the mentor? Like he wants another you want every mentor wants the next student to outshine him.
Exactly. Depends upon the mentor also.
Depends on the mentor. If he's
a good mentor will definitely want their student to be better than them.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So the last law says that you don't take all these laws so seriously.
That's the best law.
That's the last law. The 49th law is like, don't take all of this too seriously. You apply it when it is necessary.
When you think,
but I think so. There's a movie with Kamal Hassan. You guys remember? It's a very old movie. Kamal Hassan, he outshines his mentor, and something bad happens to him. So he's a singer in that movie, or a dancer or something.
Oh yeah, no. Sagar Sangam.
He outdances his mentor or something, and then he fucks his life up.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So I remember as soon as I read that law, I was like, oh wait, hold on a second. It connected the dot.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like how we're connecting movies with.
Yeah, dude, like real life things. I mean, we're all 30 above,
and it is like realistic stuff. It's not like unrealistic. Like this Norwegian yearbook wood is like a very realistic thing. Like it can happen. That thing could have happened. Like it's very common in dance and stuff like that. Now coming to Shiva, they're talking about Savage Detective. We just kind of touched upon it. What did you like about it? How did you?
Yeah, like this is a very. I like the book a lot. So Bolaño is he has a cult about him. So he wrote this, and then he wrote another unfinished work called 2666. He has a very strange way of writing. That's the only way I can say it. Okay, very strange. Okay, so I actually want to talk about this by relating it to this book in some sense, because how else do you talk about objects without relations, right? In some sense. So if you take these two kind of books, this is extremely like, I would not say. Sure. Okay, sure. This is Ocean Vuong. I think it's pretty. This thing, it's called.
What's it called?
It's called Ocean Vuong. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous.
And I just wanted to show the camera. The pages look really nice. If you.
It looks like it came from Canada.
Yeah, this is the first novel of a guy who is a poet actually.
Ah.
So Ocean Vuong is a poet, and another trivia about him is that he's gay, right? And why is it is interesting he's gay is that he wrote this as a student. I think I'm not completely sure, but his roommates at least were very noisy. And you need, if you're an author, you need some quiet, lonely space to kind of like write. So he would go into his closet and write the book.
Into his closet.
Yes, K coming into the
Okay.
closet. He's going into the closet. You can-
Like figuratively, not like
okay.
literally.
No.
Literally in the
He
closet.
literally went
I
inside
thought
his
you were
closet.
figuratively like, gay and not gay like that. He was like,
He's actually gay and he's actually going into the closet to get some calm space so that he can write his
oh,
book.
literally he goes figuratively also. He goes, maybe that's.
Possibly.
And he's a Asian gay.
He's definitely. Oh, how do you know that?
This is
Vuong.
Vuong.
Vuong. He's Vietnamese. Yes, he's an Asian
Vietnamese gay guy.
Vietnamese gay. Vietnamese who went to America.
Yeah.
Who's an American immigrant. Now, I'm going to park this here. This is how my mind works from one space to another. You asked me about this book. I told you about this book. Apologies. So this is The Savage Detectives by Roberto Bolaño. And the contrast that I wanted to give is Bolaño has a very strange way of writing. So the story, it's essentially about... It's very difficult to pin down also kind of like, what's the story. It's about infra-realists, again, who, are poets, right? They have this poetry movement, called infra-realism.
Everything is set in Chile, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it is set in Chile. There's it's about Juan Garcia Madero, who's 17 years old, and I really like it. I really like the way he writes it because it's a to a certain extent a very flat way of writing. So he'll describe some of the craziest stuff that is going on in a very plain manner. Here, the most mundane stuff that is happening, whether it's like a nail polish somebody is doing it,
Because he's gay.
nail polish anything, it's done in such a descriptive way with such attention to detail.
Yeah, like he's written it because he's gay. Like you'd want to like feel everything.
He puts his like basically I think he puts himself in the book. That's why.
I mean, it's a nice thing.
himself
I'm
in
not
the book.
saying he's written it like that. He's gay, but gay people do write like that.
He has that kind of contrast, right? And what's kind of also interesting in contrasting the two books is that Bolaño is a very strange writer and about very strange things that kind of like go on. He is so the contrast essentially is that he's a poet he's doing his first novel, turning to prose, right? And this is prose about poets.
Yeah.
That's the contrast that's kind of like interesting. So you have that intra-realism movement, and then you have about the exploits of two guys. One is Arturo Belano, who is Bolaño's alter ego. And the other guy, I forget his name, is his friend. It's been a while since I've essentially read the book. So the exploits of these two guys. So they are in search of a poet. And that poet is Sisehiro Tenehiro. She is in some crazy place in Mexico, and they're going to go find her. So there's a lot going on in the book in terms of content, and the way he writes it is about essentially leftists and very socialist, Marxist oriented guys kind of going about their lives, and they're into poetry, they are into literature, and they are into a lot of like you could say they're into literature, so it's very self-reflexive. It's about literature that they're essentially writing. So one very interesting thing I think in this book, if I can just give you it's very difficult to pin down what the book is, just to give you a texture, is it's about two people talking, right? But he does not describe the conversation. He says, the word something was used thrice. Some other word was used 5 times. This is how he writes. Like, let's say both of us, two friends are talking. The word breakup was used 5 times. The word heartbreak twice. The word bitch 17 times.
It's like your ex-girlfriend who's get count of everything you said.
Right, maybe. That's not the thing. The thing is like how he's kind of like, very flat. It's just.
But you
this was used
understand
17 times.
what the conversation
What the conversation is
barely
about. Like
about,
he's
yeah,
literally almost enumerating the frequencies with which people are using certain words,
Yeah.
but he's painting a picture and letting your imagination go crazy. Okay, while on the other hand, that's the flat writing here. He's an aspiring poet. The contrast here is this man is a poet writing prose while making not even most mundane stuff sound so visual and appealing and very nice. So that's Ocean Yong for you, and that's Bolaño for you. That's what I've essentially.
I like
been
the
doing.
thinking of, and I like the contrast. Explain it very nicely.
Thanks.
Before we go into the next, I just wanted to just showcase another genre that is growing in India, but internationally is followed a lot more. Is the manga, which I love collecting. So this is, for example, One Piece. I use it for collection mostly. It's because I love the concept of it, and it starts from the left side.
Stop.
Extremely poor production.
Recording again.
Hi. So a bad production value because you guys are not subscribing. So which means that you should. We're talking about One Piece.
Yeah.
So let us continue about the right to left.
Yeah, so this is manga, and this is something different. If you don't know about manga, is that starts from right to left, like Urdu. So Japanese comics are always starting from right to left. So you're supposed to read it like this as a comic goes. It's very difficult if you're new in it because your mind automatically starts reading from the left, and then you read it wrong and you kind of get confused. But it's a new different genre that's like really growing in India, I think, and internationally it's like super famous. One of the
Of
most highly sold series, and another other thing that I picked up. Another thing that again is something I love. This is again a realism and a kind of a self-help book. Is Before Your Memory Fades, the concept where you can go back into the past in a cafe, and then again you live your life and you understand that what you had is
I
really
want to
good.
actually ask you a lot of questions about the two books.
Yeah.
The first One Piece actually is, you said manga.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about anime in the sense that I know this is not anime. Maybe animes elitists will scoff at me, but Dragon Ball Z is probably
Correct.
what I've essentially
Yeah.
seen, and people don't like Dragon Ball Z much. Or anime. People
People
love
love
Dragon
Dragon
Ball
Ball
Z,
Z.
but I think anime elitists don't love Dragon Ball Z after a point. I love it. It's
Okay.
great. So the thing is, what is the difference between anime and a manga?
Yeah, what happens is manga is basically all the in Japan, they love writing comics and reading comics like since forever. So what happens is if it's really becoming famous, then the production company studios pick this up and then make it into an anime. So it's like a live action of the book, because some people, like obviously some people don't really like reading. They would want to watch it on a TV, right? So for them, they start making it into an anime. So everything in Japan, no anime is original. 90% of, maybe 95% is not. Most of them are not original. 5% probably would be original, made for Netflix and stuff like that. But 95% would be in form of a book, and then they make it into a anime.
You probably knew that already.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
No, I did not.
So that's
news
how
to me.
and it's like a super lucrative industry in Japan. Like you're a superstar. Like this guy is superstar in Japan. This guy's, and he hates going out with the fans, and since he doesn't step out at all, he doesn't show his face. And
What's the name?
the author?
Mm.
His name is Ichiro Oda.
Ichiro Oda. So if Ichiro Oda ran out on the street in Japan, what would happen? Would
No
he
one
be...
would recognize him because he doesn't barely shows his face. Like
No, okay.
in 30 years, he started in 1998, writing the book 1996 maybe, and till now, no one, 90% of
But
the people
if they
don't know how he
if
looks
they knew
like.
that this guy wrote One Piece, he would probably be like,
Yeah, he would be like proper. Yeah.
people to fall on him.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's, I think now we jumped back to Pranshu about the last two books that are there. One is
Yeah.
Chanakya Niti and the other
Yeah.
one I can't see.
I got Chanakya Niti over here, which is basically, I feel, is the Bharatiya Stoic. But yeah, I read this completely for reasons of political of his political views and
great
how he
thinker.
maneuvered in his times.
So, one thing that I kind of want to ask is that, again, there's a very stupid comparison that goes on here between Chanakya Niti and Machiavelli.
Machiavelli, yeah.
But there is actually no comparison, because Chanakya ran the whole, like, one of the greatest empires was what he essentially built. Machiavelli was a, I don't know, thinker in some court in Italy or something.
Yeah, he got thrown out and then he wrote the book.
Yeah, so there's like a small thinker in Italy is being compared to a man who kind of ran one of the biggest empires known to mankind.
But a lot of
or
people live
humankind.
by that Machiavellian.
Machiavellian thing. The mafioso guys.
Mafioso guys do live according to
Yeah,
it.
Omerta.
Apparently, lot of kings.
Kings also, after Machiavelli passed away and all that.
It's like it
when
was
he
a very
found his
good book
books,
for kings. Yeah.
They did take his writings into consideration and use them.
Yeah.
But
Very brute force.
It's like very.
But
yeah.
this is not that. This is not brute force.
No, I'm talking about Machiavelli.
So I'm saying the comparison is wrong.
Chanakya Niti is very polished. Very polished.
What is it about? Could you tell me more about Chanakya Niti? Because I've not read the book.
It's basically it's also about how you maneuver things in your life.
A compassionate heart. Above all, you need to be compassionate if you want to experience divine grace. We can soften other people's hardened hearts by treating them with love and care. Wise people strive to develop compassion and in the process develop saintly qualities and achieve self-realization. We can soften other people's hardened hearts by treating them with love and care.
What comes to mind? Soften and harden.
Nah,
Soft-spirited, hard dick.
Yeah, not in the...
that was
No, I got what you're saying, but then I'm just trying to basically decipher if this statement is completely correct in all situations, right?
It depends,
It's
like
not,
how you
it's
take
this
it.
context.
It's how you take it in, yeah?
Yeah.
Hanging from it. Sweet wise words of the company of good people. I'm gonna read this book sometime.
Yeah, you do.
Not
It's
sometime.
really famous, like I think bestseller.
Yeah, it's one of the everybody.
The author is Radhakrishnan Pillai. He has a bunch of other books. Another one I remember is Corporate Niti. Corporate Chanakya Niti for corporates.
Corporates, yeah.
Chanakya
So that's also is in
Arthashastra is also another
Arthashastra as well, dude. Yeah, I want to read that as well. Sorry,
book. Okay, you're
blowing up my mic.
Yeah, blowing up the mic. Yeah, in my ears.
Yeah.
Right. So Arthashastra is also another book. Okay, what else do you? Okay, this is
So
Noam
I
Chomsky's
just
How the World
just
Works.
recently bought this, and this is basically a book called How the World Works, and it's giving you insights on how America wants to run the world. So run itself as well as the world. So the power dynamics that it wants to keep globally, and the reasons why it is the world superpower. So it's all stated in that.
What Uncle Sam really wants.
Yep.
Have you finished reading it?
No, I just started. I just started a couple of pages.
It sounds very interesting.
Chomsky. It sounds very interesting. Yes, Chomsky is a good thinker, I suppose, and I like his work in linguistics. But it also sometimes happens that a thinker who's very good in one sphere tries to think that he can kind of like
Yeah,
give his views
just
on-
like Chicago Bulls. Who was that guy? Air Jordan. Who's that guy?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan wanted to play golf, right? So he sucked at it. So
Baseball.
yeah, baseball. Baseball? Did he? Yeah, baseball.
Yeah, he sucked at it, but because he was Michael Jordan, they gave him.
Because he was
they gave him
Michael Jordan,
chances.
they tolerated that. You want to read a line out of the book? You'll probably make a joke out of it again.
Yeah, so just as international law isn't applicable to the United States, which has been condemned by the World Court, states do what they feel like, though of course small states have to obey. The thing is, international law, I am not an expert, but I have had experts essentially boil it down, because everybody wants to do a lot of oblique referencing, in the sense that, like, if I can give an example, let us say you are very scientifically precise about something. Let's say you are looking at a image, okay, and you describe the image as protons and neutrons and atoms, okay, as the position and the wavelength at which they're vibrating, the energy levels and all. It would be a horrible thing for you to do.
Yeah.
But if you looked at an image that is a painting essentially, and said that, oh, this is not okay, the color spectrum and all, if that's how you're describing it, makes no sense, right? So you have to kind of like be flowery about it, right? You have to describe it saying that this makes me or this evokes these emotions in me. So people always say stuff that in a very different manner. There's always something left unsaid, right? If you are completely brutally frank on the point, it'll be very difficult for human relationships to kind of be. Okay, so that's the case even with something like international law. So when you say that just as international law isn't applicable to United States, and small states or big states do whatever they want and small states have to obey, the reality is that precisely is what international law is. Okay, if you read international law, you'll be like, oh, this is that is that. But an expert in international law says that, well, fundamentally what it is might is right.
Might is right.
They don't say it. Might. Yes, might is right. I'm not saying it is correct or not. I'm saying that's how the world is operated. You can do a lot of intellectual gymnastics to justify your position. But what it has always been the case is that the strong have set the rules and the weak have followed. You can justify your strength and all, but that's always been the case. Even now, that is what international law is. To a great extent, that might is right.
Yeah.
When World War III breaks out, it's going to be the same thing all over again. That might is right. So that's the point I wanted to make, which is that international law is like this. It is not applicable to United States. It is in the sense that it's not United States. Yeah. International law itself is essentially something that you may disagree with in the first place. But anyways. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. But go on, you may want to say more.
No, I just read a couple of pages, dude. I recently bought that.
Very nice.
And then coming back to another genre which wasn't covered. I don't know, was it called genre? I guess so. Anyway, another one is autobiography maybe, but this is not autobiography, it's a biography basically. It's about FTX. The Rise and Fall of FTX.
That dude.
By Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball, the same author.
Oh.
So it's about this guy, a young dude, 21, 22, how he became out of nowhere, in 2 years, he became a billionaire using cryptocurrency. And then how everything fell apart, and now how he is in jail, basically.
I think he's out of jail, no? He's out of jail. He gave
he's
Biden.
on bail, I think, or something like that.
He gave Biden $1 billion, dude, for campaigning.
He was always like really open about giving into giving it to money.
He was driving a Toyota Corolla just to show people that he doesn't give a shit about materialistic things.
Yeah, he wears shorts. He hates suits. He wears shorts.
So I think he took that straight out of the movie, of that Facebook movie. Like he wears one t-shirt and a pair of shorts.
The Social Network.
Yeah, the Social Network. How this guy was.
So he basically
get a fucking haircut, dude. Like
he has a horrible hair.
You look like like cockroaches in your hair.
Actually, if you see, it's like his hair is actually shown in darkness here.
Okay.
Like really horrible hair, unkept.
But nothing against Jews though. Is he a Jew?
I think
he's a Jew, right?
Yeah, he's a Jew. He's a Jew. Yeah. But his parents are both professors, really into numbers. This guy is really into numbers. Finance guy suddenly went into cryptocurrency, and then how he destroyed the whole industry in 2 years.
How did he do that? Like,
what happened is he bet on a lot of. He's very aggressive. So he took money from investors, and then he put it on a lot of stuff which he expected to increase, but then they crashed. And he put it through another company that he owns. So he basically removed it and put it into another company. And all his assets were basically all his money that they showed, the company showed, were all cryptos. And when cryptocurrency fell, this whole company kind of fell down. And then when the investors and it was a bad time for crypto, and the investors give me the money back, they couldn't basically do that. He couldn't basically do that because all his cryptos crashed at the same time.
So basically, FTX is an exchange.
Yeah, it's an exchange,
it's
like
a
Sensex type.
Cryptocurrency exchange. So he took all that money, parked it into a sister company, and the sister company invested into some other companies that didn't do well, and in itself as well. And the sister company wasn't doing any progress with their own business.
Yeah.
So it kind of lost a lot of money doing that.
Yeah. So if, for example, you have a Sensex kind of a market.
He just essentially fucked everything up.
Yeah, he fucked people up, dude. He fucked them. He drawed them nice and proper.
Yeah. So what happened was, for example, you have Sensex, right, market. Then you have different platforms like grow or whatever. FTX was the same thing for crypto. Basically, that's what it. And and people who invested basically lot of losses. There's a lot of interviews. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. Everything on YouTube. Very interesting. And I had this 1 month of just reading about FTX because I was not really at all into crypto. So this kind of justified why I was not into crypto. So I really loved reading. At least
at that point of time, Binance was
Binance is another one which is kind of very criminal.
Popular. Most popular crypto exchange.
And then FTX was second, but Binance itself has a lot of like red flags.
This reminds me of Elizabeth Holmes.
Theranos.
Elizabeth Holmes is the girl who made that medical this thing, right?
With very drop of blood you get everything.
It was complete nonsense, completely fake.
And she acted like Steve Jobs while doing it for some reason.
Yeah, and then she was the youngest self-made female billionaire in the United States.
Even this guy was the male, though.
Is
male
she
version.
still a billionaire and outside?
No,
or is
she's outside but not a billionaire. Now I think she's a mother also.
No. Who?
She got a drop of semen
She's
somewhere.
zero.
I know, but she's outside now, and then she's married, and I think I don't know what she's doing, but
she has zero money now. I mean, this is what happens, right? Because the same story, it went to 2 billion, and I think it crashed, and he has nothing.
There's a series on I don't know which platform, but it's called Dropout, because she dropped out of some big university to pursue this when she was 19 or something. And then the worst part is she got a lot of experienced investors, like people who have had 30 to 40 years experience, who know their stuff. They were on her board. For some reason, they had no clue about all the fake things she was doing. Everything was fake. The readings were fake. The devices was fake. The deals, she even completed deals with a few companies.
I think she should have joined
all
politics.
using the fake data.
Yeah, that's crazy. There's another
she should have replaced Hillary Clinton in the 2014 elections.
There's another actually scam like this that happened with a guy called David Sinclair. Okay, so he's a Harvard researcher, and I think you people have heard of resveratrol.
I know.
Resveratrol. They say that if you drink red wine, it's really good for you. Resveratrol, it's anti-aging. So he kind of did some nonsense.
So that guy is fake?
So what actually happened? Okay, before jumping to conclusions, let me tell the whole story, and then you guys figure it out. Okay. So
wait a second. Pause, everybody. Check the time.
8 something.
8:16.
No. On the recorder. How much are we doing?
50 minutes maybe.
50 minutes.
Okay.
Last, and then we'll kind of cut it off. Call it a day, right? So GlaxoSmithKline paid like 700 million or 800 million something, to David Sinclair's research, where he said that resveratrol has anti-aging properties. It has something to do with something called sirtuins, right? Which are certain genetic pathways, and if they kind of get activated, these lead to I guess stalling aging or something. Again, not a biochemist or a geneticist, whatever little I've understood, so do take it with maybe 2 pinches of salt, not just 1. So what happened is that it turns out that the whole I'm not saying he did it actually. It was basically a lab error. Okay, so the sirtuins are actually not getting activated because of resveratrol. They were getting activated because of a dye. So it was literally a coloring problem. They ended up looking at a wrong color. So it was like Harvard researchers or big smart people, right? Or maybe he kind of got a Harvard professorship because of this, right? Made a very bad error, where they did not look at the data correctly. It was literally a human mistake, and that ended up getting this thing that resveratrol is essentially very good for you. So long story short is GlaxoSmithKline bought it, and they tried to reproduce that research. They could not. And then he kind of
they bought it for 400 million.
700
million. My God.
Okay, pretty good. If let's say you sell that much, you can probably not work for the rest of your life, right? So
you can go to the Mars. You can go outside of this planet for all I care. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happened, and then now he is doing the same thing with what is it called? NMN, which is another drug that he essentially says is reversing aging or something like that.
I think this guy is the WeWork of medicine.
Yeah, Newman.
What do you say?
Perhaps.
I think there's a similar one with there's this lady who started a company where it was, I think, to assist students, if I'm not wrong. I forgot the name of the company, But it was basically to assist. It would be a database of students who would, assist for them. I think for university admissions or something like that.
Oh boy.
And then she got.
Hold on.
Exceeded.
Okay.
Parallel.
Into 3 files.
Is it done?
Card full bow.
Card full. This is there. This is there.
I will continue with this.
Yeah.
Continue with this. You tell me and then I'll close.
Yeah. So it's about this lady who started this company, and then it was basically about database of students who could, as a database for admission to universities, if I'm not wrong. And then she claimed to have like thousands of students on the platform, but it was apparently some guy who she hired to actually, sit on an Excel and create fake people, so that she could exaggerate the data. It was like 1/10 the people or something, and a company actually paid like $1 billion for it, and then due diligence was done. I don't know what due diligence was done, and then it cleared, and then afterwards they found out everything was fake. Like, what is happening in the world where people are buying fake companies for $1 billion, like with due diligence?
I think we should start researching on how to defraud people.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the startup world is essentially fraud. But anyways, we spoke about books. We spoke about startups. We spoke about startups being frauds, and we spoke about all kinds of things from Chanakya Niti to everything else,
To manga.
and about and we ate dark chocolate. So next time we will eat white chocolate, I guess. Let us know what you want us to, for the 80 people watching, right? Let us know what you want us to talk next time, and we will do that.
Please comment.
Yeah.
Share, subscribe.
Like. Yeah. Anyways, bye guys. We gotta go. It's late.